Hello, hello, hello. I hope that this video finds you well. If you watched my last video, thank you for coming back. I appreciate you so much. My name is Alicia Haskett, and I am a part of a revolution for Black women to practice radical self-care. And that's what I love. I love being in a space where we can have rest, we can define our version of pleasure, and take back our narrative of what it really means to be a part of Black womanhood. Now, in these videos, I want to always talk about this hair, okay? But also talk about Black women and how we show up in society. If you have not been under a rock, you know that the icon, the legend, Tina Turner has become an ancestor. And the discourse online already has been sickening. And I mean sickening. I'm going to be taking out my hair, and I'm just using some oil that's in here, carrier oil. And I think I have like vanilla and rose in here and maybe some jasmine. But anyway, I am going to be taking these out, and hopefully they are dry. But I want to talk about how... Ooh, are they dry? Okay, they're good. Good. I wasn't sure, okay? I want to talk about how Black women are supposed to be and continuously in a space where we are not taken care of. And when we choose ourselves, it's a problem. It becomes anti-Blackness, which to me doesn't make any sense. When the legend died, when Tina Turner passed, on Twitter, there was so much discourse about how she was anti-Black. And it was so crazy to me because as a Black girl growing up, I remember watching the film with Angela Bassett, who did an amazing job. And from Angela Bassett, don't look at my nails because I didn't. I got to do this side. And I got to do this side. But anyway, I digress. Angela Bassett played her to a T. And what was interesting to me about that is how that movie became a part of like Black culture. And when I say Black culture, I mean Eat the Cake anime, the image, the meme of Lawrence Fishburne, who was playing that man who will not be named and looking off to the side, and how that became a meme and people use that. I could not imagine. And let me not even say that. Also, there's a whole thing on Twitter where people were acting out, and I remember this vividly. There was a persons. I've actually even witnessed children, like little girls, doing this with the wig and everything, the white suit. When in the movie Tina was running from Ike, and she had that white suit on, and she ran out of that hotel and just ran through the hotel, through the street and everything. I've witnessed people redoing that as a scene, like this is not her life, as a scene, and people laughing and joking about it. I could not imagine knowing that this part of my life, that was one of the most horrible moments of my life, where I was abused, where I was raped, has become fodder for jokes, for entertainment of Black people and just people in general. So when she passed, and we're seeing these things come up where people are showing, and I'm not even joking, I saw this. If I can find it, I will post it on here in this video. There was an image of a person with the Lawrence Fishburne, he was looking to the side like this, and the person was like, that's how that man, who will not be named, is going to look at Tina Turner when she gets to the pearly gates. And there weren't a lot of people who were actually like, what are you doing? Like, this is not funny. There were some people who were like, that's not cool. Like, what are you doing? Like, this is not cool. But a lot of people, a lot of Black people were laughing and like, oh, too soon. This is like, and I was just like, wow. And it made me think about like Megan the Stallion, and how nobody really knew Tory Lane like that. I don't even know what that little leprechaun's name is, but didn't really know him like that. And it became this big thing online, like she's lying, that never happened, even though she was trying to protect him. She's lying, it never happened. What are you talking about? Like, it was so much so that she had to remove herself from social media because of the vitriol that was being placed on her. Like, grown people attacking her because they felt like she was attacking a black man. It's just crazy to me. And the same thing with like Aaliyah, how so there is an interview recently with Shannon Sharp. He did it with Timberland. And this is what's so weird to me. When men say things out loud that are like, did you hear yourself? The same thing for Ashanti in that whole situation. Like, do you hear yourself when you're speaking and you're saying these things in a public forum? But then I also have to think that they have no repercussions, because Timberland was talking about R. Kelly and basically saying we have to separate the man from the music, as if the music is not about him being a pedophile, as if he didn't call himself the Pied Piper, as if he didn't talk about, it seems like you're ready, like he's not talking about black girls, like girls. And then it went to Aaliyah, and then I'm talking about Timberland is talking about how he loved Aaliyah so much that he married a woman that looks like her. What? Like,
are you not ashamed of yourself? Are you not embarrassed?
Like, are yours? I couldn't even, if I was his wife, I would be livid, but also I would be looking at him with the straight side eye.
Criminal, offensive side eye.
And so that just leads me into like how, again, like this legend has passed on and people are still talking Cash Money shit about her, as if she was not a waymaker for the people we see now. Like Beyonce has talked about and been on stage with Tina Turner. There would be no Beyonce in that space to do the things she does, how she is, without Tina Turner. Like, but again, instead of taking a moment to say, we need to honor this ancestor, this dynamic woman who lived through hell, from being a child to parents who abandoned her, to being with this man who physically, mentally, financially abused her, to the community also living through this with her, and then still being like it's a joke, to her now being an ancestor and people talking about, oh, she was anti-black. I don't fuck with her because she was anti-black. She didn't like Africa. She talked bad about Africa. She was anti-black. What? Like, what is going on? I am so thoroughly confused. Like, I am confused. And that, just to put it in perspective, is like, even in death, Variety, I'm going to put that up right here, had shit to say and used that man's name to talk about her, the legend that she was. Why are you even using his name? She even said herself she did not want to be associated with him. She wanted that name because she had earned that name, but nothing else she wanted from him. She did not even want to be in the room with him. She didn't want her name to be associated with him. She wanted nothing from him. And mind you, the man that she was married to for 37 years, you don't say anything about him, but you say something about that man, that, I wouldn't even call him a man, that male that she was with. Like, what what is that? What is that? So that's why I am all about Black women going to where they are loved. If there's anything that I want for Black women, it's for them to go where they are loved. And I'm not just talking about romantic love. I'm just talking about love in general. That could be platonic love. That could be, familial love. But go where you are loved. Go where you are nurtured. Go where love is served at the table. Because when it is no longer served at the table, it's time for you to get up, sis. And I love that about Tina Turner. I love that she said, love is no longer being served in America, so I am dipping. You're not going to see me here ever again. She actually was like, I don't even want to be an American citizen. I'm going over. I'm going to France. I'm going to Switzerland. Like, you don't have to worry about me no more. And lived out the rest of her life in the lap of luxury. And even within that luxury, she did a interview with Mike Wallace. With that man. And he, as they do for some reason when they want to make sure that you are in your place, when he did the interview, I'm going to find it, I'm going to try to put it in here. And he said to her, do you think you deserve this? He is in her home, not only in her home, an invited guest in her home, and then has the audacity to ask her if she thought she deserved all of this splendor. And she said, I deserve more. She said, I deserve more. Like, between her and Eartha Kitt, like, this is who we should be looking at as we grow older, as we face these times where we have to rely on each other even more, but we also have to know who we are. And we also have to understand that we deserve pleasure. We deserve to be in a space where we love all parts of ourselves, all parts of our bodies, our minds, our spirit. And to be someone who literally, what we would think of as, over the hill for some people, 40 years old, she was a rock star. Like at 63, she was doing concerts. And not only was she doing concerts, homegirl was doing concerts, this ancestor was doing concerts. And I don't know, I'm going to find that video. And she was walking across that beam that was like, I don't even know how far in the sky. And her legs for days. And that hair, you couldn't tell Tina Turner shit. And I love that. I love that she chose herself. And not only did she choose herself, she did it in a time, especially for her generation, where that's not something that you saw. That's not something that was, I know for a lot of people, was something that was frowned upon. You stayed in situations, you stayed in abusive relationships because that's what you were supposed to do. That's what was supposed to do. That's what you were supposed to do as a woman. Like there was nothing else. Like that was it. That man owned you lock, stock, and barrel. That was your husband. Like you went from your parents' house to that husband. And if you've watched the movie, it's been years since I've watched it. It's very hard to watch. But if you watched that movie, you saw her life. You saw what happened to her. You saw how she took the reins of her life and said, I am going to ride this shit until the wheels fall off, but I'm going to do it and I'm going to do it on my own terms. And then for you to say that she is anti-black, and this was coming from a black woman, like, who raised y'all? Like, what? Who raised you? I don't understand it. On another note, talking about that time period, that era when she was young, the new version of The Color Purple, which is coming out, which is going to be a musical, which I'm excited about because I really wanted to see that when Fantasia was playing Celie. Oh my god, I know live, I know that was amazing. I really wanted to see that. But there's also now a major thing where people are talking about, especially when I say people, I mean black men on this one, about why they're doing The Color Purple over again. It's pretty much a lie how they are portraying black men in that era, and I'm just like, who won't tell you? Who won't tell them? Who? Because when I tell you, I am an avid reader, right? And so a lot of the books I read, if they are a part of a series which is by an author named Beverly Jenkins. Beverly Jenkins writes historical romance novels that are based in the 1800s and all that time, right? And also, everything that she writes is historically accurate. I know this because in the back of the book, Beverly Jenkins will give you everything that she found and where she found it. She gives you all of her resources and sources in the back of the damn book, okay? And a lot of what she talks about is the same dynamic that we're seeing in The Color Purple. Although it's love stories, which are amazing, and her the women in her love stories are like, they are women that you could see yourself being in today's age, but they still have society as a part of, like, I have to be a virgin, I have to do this, I have to do this, like I had all these things. And that's always confusing to me because I'm like, where do you think these things came from? Do you think they just went away in the 30s and the 40s, in the 20s? Do you think they went away at the turn of the century? Do you think that men didn't think that they owned women? That it was okay to abuse them? That it was okay to give them discipline when they didn't listen, as if what we call discipline for children, that's another story for another day, another topic, is what they deserve? And if you go on TikTok, like if you go on TikTok, you hear a lot of older women, like when you ask them, and I'm not even exaggerating because I've seen it a lot. When you ask them, and these are women who are in their 70s, 80s, some of them in their 60s as well. And when they ask them, like, I'm a woman of a certain age, they'll say, well, what advice can you give to a young woman? And they will immediately say, do not get married. 9 times out of 10, and 9 times out of 10, I hear that, don't get married. But the men on TikTok are like, these stories don't need to be told because they're a lie. This is not true. But your auntie and your grandma, your great great grandma, your great auntie, is telling the younger girls, live your life. And as you get older, if you find someone that makes you feel amazing, that cares for you, that treats you with respect and kindness and generosity, then, only then, should you think about marrying that person. But until then, live your life. Especially women who've been married before, they'll ask them, like, what was the thing for you? And they're like, I would never get married again. I would never. And I hear that so often. I see it a lot. Like, they're like, don't get married. Don't get married. Like, if you don't have to, if you are able to live in a way where you can take care of yourself, don't get married. And so the discourse that I'm seeing on social media about this movie, which is actually the musical, it's not the actual Color Purple. What they fail to realize is that this book was literally about Black womanhood and the relationships that we have with other Black women. Yes, the story about Mr. and those men was a part of it, but the story truly was a coming of age story about women, Black women. And at that time, historically, they were treated like that. This is not anything that is just coming out of thin air. This is what they were treated like. So, and we see that today based on how we see how people are treating the women that we have now. We see it so often where women are thought of as property, but don't let it be that you take onus of who and what you are, because, oh my God, that's a problem. That's a major problem. So when I saw that discourse about that, I was like, this is crazy. Like, this is really crazy. That people think that this entire musical is about Black men and how Black men are abusive. And I'm like, but no, this is about Black womanhood. This is about the relationships that we have with ourselves, the relationship that we have with the women in our lives. This is a coming of age story that talks about how we vest in each other. And when we do that, we are the strength that we need, the bonds that we need in order to survive in this world that even in our death, we'll talk mad cash money shit about us. Even when we are protecting our men, they'll talk mad cash money shit about us. So the only part that I'm really hoping for that they do in the movie is when Celie was like, she did that hand move, when she did that to Mr. I really hope they put that in the musical, because this right here, this made the whole movie. There are parts in movies that you watch that are just like those moments where you see them and you're like, this shit right here, I don't know if Whoopi did that because that was in the screenplay or what, but this shit, till you do right by me, that right there, that was like, between that and you told Harpo to beat me, that shit right there was it. That was it for me. But yeah, I'm grateful that we got to see Tina Turner. I'm grateful that we are able to have the legacy of what she was able to do, even in the face of abuse, even in the face of knowing that people thought she was not good enough and tried to stamp out who she was. She still was able to rise up. And now she is an honored ancestor. So if you are watching this, I pray and I hope that you will see her story, her life, as her love of 37 years, as a way to understand that even if you are in a moment in your life, because it is a moment, that you understand that it is just a moment. It is just a chapter in a long journey, but it is not your journey. It is so much more to you, so much more that you are going to be able to do because you exist. I know, because I've been there. I know, because I've gone through certain things, that if anyone else would have told me my story, I would not believe that they are who they are today. But just like her, I understood that I had to choose myself. I had to make sure that this is my life and I get to choose how I'm living it. I get to make choices that allow me to be the favorite version of myself and forget what anybody else says, because I am my longest relationship. I am my most successful relationship. So I pray that you also get that in your system, that you are your longest relationship. You are your most successful relationship. I gotta go back and watch her stuff, I swear. When she was in Mad Max. Oof. Anyway, yes. So with that being said, I am going to be hosting, and by I mean my business or experience, Boudoir Photography, is hosting a what I like to call a retreat slash workshops, all of it in between, in Cartagena, Colombia. And we are going to have a fabulous time because we are going to be talking about how you tap into your favorite version of yourself. What does that look like for you? We'll have, of course, a private villa. We will have, of course, workshops by two phenomenal women, Black women who I've worked with for years, who are going to guide us into that space of what it looks like when you choose yourself, what it looks like when you make choices that are for you and only you, not because you are selfish, but because you want to be the favorite version of yourself. And there's nothing selfish about that. So if you are interested, please make sure that one, you subscribe. It's the first thing. Two, you go down and you click on that link that'll take you to that information for the trip, and you get to understand what we're going to be doing. There is an application. There is an application. There is an application. The application is for one reason and one reason only. I want to make sure that the people who are coming on this trip understand that this is not a trip where you're going to go out and have party all day and then come back and sleep all day. Like, this is a trip where we're going to be working on ourselves, but we're going to be having fun, but we're also going to be doing the work to change our lives. I hate when you go to workshops and events, and I go to a lot, and you get riled up like, yes, I could do this. And then you get home and you're like, what did I learn? How can I implement this in my life? This ain't that. This ain't that. Between Coco Alexa and Camilla Davis, you gonna get your life. And me, of course, as I'll be doing the boudoir images, you're going to get your life and get your money's worth. The value that you are going to receive on this trip is something that I can't even put into words, because I know how these two women have guided me in my life and my journey of loving and honoring all parts of myself. So if you are interested in that, go ahead and go down and click on that trip information and apply to be a part of this phenomenal experience that we are going to be doing. And subscribe.